Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the My Love of Golf podcast. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you, as always. If you want to see us a little bit more up close and personal, you can always tune in at the YouTube channel, which, we're up to 113 subscribers. We would love to get that up and up and up. And if you do subscribe after hearing my pleas for you to join us on the YouTube channel, not only will you get to see myself, Rocket, and Magic face-to-face, up close and personal, it's a largely unedited version of what we do. We'd love to see you over there. But if you listen to us on the audio, we always appreciate you tuning in. And thank you for those that get up early on whatever the morning is and send us the message to say you've listened. It's the things that's like that keep us going. I've got the guys waiting, got a bit to talk about. Thanks for joining us. Rocket Man, welcome to you up there in Queensland. How are you? Love that music. Love that music. How are you, mate?
I'm great. I'd rather be doing this than busting my knuckles on flat packs and all the crap that I've had to put together for the last week.
Okay, still project move into Captain Queensland.
Yep.
Okay. So, that's what happens when you...
Yeah, it is what it is.
Have you got the family to work? Is everyone pitching in?
Oh, yeah. They're pitching in to put stuff in backwards.
Okay. So. I don't do what I did the last time I built some flat pack furniture. I thought I was being very clever. I built it out in the lounge room so I could still watch TV. I picked it up. I said, no, I won't do it that way because the instructions say do it that way. I'll do it this way. I picked the thing up on the wrong way and it just literally went boom and went flat. Like it popped the rivets in every point. Don't do that. Magic Mike, how are you?
Excellent.
How did you recover after the 36-hole extravaganza?
The 36-hole extravaganza, I actually was okay. I made the mistake of being talked into having another game of golf on Sunday, though. So we played Thursday.
We did.
Sunday, I got talked into driving down to Lonsdale, which wasn't too difficult to twist my arm. But on the fifth hole, the back gave out. So that was not good. So I haven't done any flat packs. I've done a whole lot of laying flat and going to Kairos and sitting on foam rollers this week, and that's about it.
Did you enjoy the 36 around PK South and North?
Loved it. I loved it. I had seen South before with you 12 months ago, I'd say, 18 months ago.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, but the North was great. They're both exceptional golf courses. I really enjoyed it. It's such a treat to be able to play those sorts of courses. And, God, you're lucky to have two courses like that in that little pocket where you can just sort of head down. How far is it from home for you?
It's about 11 and a half minutes if I get the red light at Davies Bay or Davies, the intersection of the Nepean and Davies where the pubs are.
Yep.
If I get that red light, it might take a half a minute more. But look, obviously a joke, but it's not far away. But
11 minutes to those two, you're doing very well.
Yeah, if it was only 11 minutes to my place of employment, which is almost like an hour and 45 plus 11 minutes. So anyway, there's always the pros and the
ups
cons, Mike.
And the company was good too, which was great.
Some cracking company, and thank you to Stephen Britton for joining us. He's still in Australia on his break from being the Director of Agronomy at Chevy Chase Club. You can check out the interview that I did with Stephen last year. I don't know what it is, 100 and something. But it was great to host Stephen around the South course. I'm not sure if he had already seen it or not. I said, which one do you want to play? He said, let's play the South because you'd played the North previously, the previous week. But it was just great to hear some of his stories of the people in his sphere of greensmanship that he comes across, some of his experiences working for the PGA Tour. Of course, when you're the Director of Greens at a TPC course, as he was at TPC Potomac, you're working for the PGA Tour. They hosted what was it called, the Quicken Loans, and
Quicken Loans. They had five events there, I think, and maybe an Amex, something like that. American Express, I think. So
hearing those stories about him setting the course up again and hearing it firsthand was phenomenal. Just hearing him working with the people that he works with, unbelievable. So.
It used to be the Kemper Open, which the Shark won in 1986, I think.
There we go. Stephen wasn't there then. And then we were joined by old Salty Dan from Old Salty Golf. It was great to bring the life app from behind the caricature, and once again you can see very clearly why that brand is growing from strength to strength, and the retro golf craze is in. No, it's not a craze. It's not a fad. It's here with us, and it's continuing. It's in good hands with Dan because
his knowledge.
It's a religion.
It is a religion, and he is the savant-like guru up there in the north coast of New South Wales, in his little haven up there. Some of the stuff that he knows, some of the people that he's spoken to, and just the finger on the pulse in terms of all parts of retro golf. He is close to it. And speaking of retro golf and vintage golf and hickory golf, then we were joined by another great supporter of the podcast, someone who gives a lot of time, a lot of feedback, and we really appreciate that, is Matt Mulliker. Great to see Matt. You and Matt have been friends for a while, Mike. It was good. It was a good.
It was great. We had we narrowly dodged the very big storms that came through. I think were we on 10 on the north course maybe when the big storms came through, and we got to stand around while the lightning went past and talked about life with about 15 other golfers hiding. It was great. It was just a really good day.
It was a timely break.
Good timing too with the hut.
Yeah, it was perfect. fully stocked with beer, ready for a bunch of guys to just wander in there and wait.
You wouldn't have wanted to be on like 13T or something like that.
No.
You're at the furthest part of the course.
Those blokes didn't hear the siren and kept playing.
They did. That's right. They did. They came back in. They said it. Was there a siren before? It's like, well, there was one across the way at Long Island, and then about 5 minutes later, there was one here.
And thanks to Talamate for the loan of the 9-degree Stealth Plus for a little bit of bomb exhibition.
During the break, did you fire it up, the induction driver on during the break, and
did he fire it up?
Do some bacon eggs, just under the hut on 12 North?
18 South, he teed off, and there's no way it was more than maximum 10 metres from the green. Maximum.
So he's piped one down the right-hand side and caught that little down slope.
Killed the ball. And the other one, you nearly drove the green. Which hole was that? It was on the north course, was it?
I forget.
Yeah, There's another hole. It was the par 5. Sorry, it was the big par 5. I think you put the video up on the socials. And
unlike three down the hill.
Unlike me to do that.
Nah, it was late in the day. It might have been 14 or 15 on south, north, yeah.
So 15, the big long one that comes back after the par 3.
Yeah. So
anyway, the drive is really good. All of the hoo-ha that's out there, you can check out my little video on the Drummer Golf YouTube. If you give that a like, that'd be good. It's only short. It's only just a bit of product information. I played with the product after making the video, so it was a little bit reversed around, but any support over there would be good too. Look, it was great. Great product, and I've got more of that. You can see some of which behind me that I've got there for the reviews. I've got a bit of Zexio stuff there, and I've got a bit of Odyssey. I've got all the new range of Odyssey putters there, and the one that might surprise you there is the Tour Edge stuff just there. So all that's in the can. Well, not in the can yet, but I've got to do some stuff for Drummer Golf for that. So yeah, it's all fun. Busy. Now, speaking of busy, thanks for the support on the Teeps to Tip show. That's good. I think last count we had 40 odd people in there.
Teeps, yeah. There's north of 40 now. There's a few names of people I don't know. There's some old regulars in there, but there's some people hiding under some noms of names. I do appreciate them. Ross doesn't look too happy with one of the names up the top. Ross has played with Minwoo or something like that. But no, I'm looking forward. Hopefully everyone's got their tips in, because they'll be listening to this probably post the time it tees off, because they tee off about 4:30 tomorrow morning Melbourne time.
Is it too late? Can you join as you go?
Yeah, you can join.
Yeah, right. Okay, so if you are listening to this post the start of the Sony Open, you can still join us, and there will be somewhat regular prizes, and we've got the big prize. What's the big prize? I can't even remember. 250 or a car.
It's a car.
That's next year. $250 for the grand prize voucher, and then we'll have some
other ones.
But
I mean, this week it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
So realistically, at the end of the day, there'll be people of the 40 this week. Could be one of us or all three of us that our player misses the cut, so we get $0. So it doesn't matter whether someone missed this week because they jump in next week and they're equal with us.
So it's going to be great to it just gives us something to keep talking to the people who've joined the party and want to keep engaging with us. That's great. Just for the giggles that happened at the start there. So we've got you pick your username as you do with any of these things that are online. Everyone's used to that, and there's always some funny ones. Someone who's funny made a username. Ross has played with Min Woo Lee. Well, of course, everyone who listens knows that. I talk about it every week. That's a fact. All I could think was, there's still a few usernames available. If you're going to go down that track, there's Ross has with Wade Ormsby, Ross has with George Campillo, and Lucas Herbert. So if you want to jump on and grab those ones, they're available. I didn't change my name to the Tall Whisperer. I'll just go with MLOG Roscoe. That'll do.
MLOG Roscoe. That's fair enough.
Let's just talk about the picks for this week because we've started talking about it. So there is no order. So this is the order. Who did you go with, Mike?
Sungjae Im. I tossed up. I nearly took Cam Smith, but I went with Sungjae. When I did the ratings this week, it was a very weird week. So the guys that there was 2 or 3 players that came up in my top 5 or 6 that were way over 100 to 1. So I wasn't taking one of them, but I was a bit surprised. But yeah, Cam Smith came up on top, but I took Sungjae as my number 1 pick.
Rocket Man, what about you?
So before I go to that,
sorry.
Who are those 6 that come up in the Mike's Data Lake?
Mike's Data Lake. On top was Cam Smith.
Yep.
Sungjae Im number 2.
Yep.
4, 5. And number 6 was Leishman, then Joel Damon and Taylor Gooch. And they're all around the market. But the ones in the middle that stood out, and one of them I had to go and look up because I don't know much about him, was Hayden Buckley, who's come off the Corn Ferry. He came up as my number 3.
Yeah.
Adam Schenk and the real Rory.
Yes.
The real Rory came up in position 5 in the data lake. So yeah.
I watched a video on Real Rory's house too. PGA memes.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, what's the video on Real Rory's house?
So there's a guy that does PGA memes. It's quite funny. He's co-opted the PGA Tour logo, and it's a guy drinking a beer with a beer gut. And he's made a bit of a name for himself on Instagram, making all these sort of memes. And he's doing videos now. So he's done one with Leash, Jason Day,
Cam
Smith. Yeah, he's picking the
Loves
good ones.
Aussies.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pat Perez. He did Pat Perez's one.
Did the shoes, yeah.
Did the shoes. Oh my god. And
what's the account?
It's just PGA memes on YouTube.
Yep.
And yeah, last week's one was Sabo, Rory Sabatini.
Yeah.
That was really good.
I actually made my wife sit down and watch a fast-forwarded, clipped-down version of Jason Day's house. I was like, if we ever live somewhere where it's snowing, this is what our house would look like if we had all the money in the world.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's the same house. He's got the simulator that, and then the door opens up and it's got the range down the back. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So tip for me, I went with Mr. Russell Henley. He's always going to be a fast out of the gate early in the year, and he's contended a couple of times. I think last year or the year before, I think he was contending and blew up near the end.
Yep.
So he's been up on this leaderboard, and I think did he win it a couple of years ago?
He won 2012, 17th, 2014, 13th, 2016, and 11th in 2020. There's lots of good results, and his last 3 starts, or his last 2 on the PGA Tour, 7th at Houston and 22nd at the RSM. So, no, he's a good pick.
Yeah, there we go. So there's my one and done. Russell Henley. Get him out of the way early. It's pick him at the right time of the year.
He's 12th on the data lake.
12th in the data lake.
Where's my guy on the data lake?
I knew you were about to ask me that. He is. I don't know how many people have got through the final field, but I've got 144 in the data lake, and he cruises in bang on number 100 in the data lake. Doesn't mean he won't win. Just never know.
Well, clearly, I did not look at the data of any. I did not seek any advice from you. Any thoughts around my picking of Christian Bezuidenhout?
But you had a good enough reason to pick him.
Well, he's a Southern Hemisphere boy. I like Christian. He's a good player. I like the South Africans. They can pop up anywhere. But the only reason that I picked him, if you want to know, is I served someone with exactly the same surname this week. It stuck out. Of course, I asked the gentleman, I said, any chance you're a relation to Christian Bezuidenhout? He went, no, but of course, as a golfer, I get asked that every second day. So thanks for the question. So I went with Christian Bezuidenhout for no other reason other than I met someone this week buying their Pro V1 Strixons or Chrome Softs or whatever it was with the name Bezuidenhout. And so good luck to both Bezuidenhouts in their golfing conquest this week. There you go. So that's it. The tipping is live. Join on. You can get it at Teeps, the MLOG Golf Network there. Join in and be part of the fun. Okay. Now, that tournament that is this week, we may as well talk about that because we're talking about it. So I was obviously thinking that's who we think is going to win. Waialae.
Waialae.
What does Waialae usually throw at Rocket?
Seth Rayner.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gil Hans did a bit of a reno on it a few years back too, is to bring it a little bit closer to what it used to be.
And score-wise, what's the usual sort of form in scoring around there? Is it depending on wind blowing off the Pacific?
Definitely wind, but they'll shoot some silly scores. The weather looks perfect, and it's a par 70.
Yeah, I think so.
So this is where Justin Thomas shot 59 a couple of years ago. Someone will shoot something close enough to that again this week, for sure.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good golf. Good course. It's not long. It can be tight. It's the hole. If you've got someone that can move the ball around, historically, it's not a bomber that's going to win it.
Your buddy had signed up until he pulled out with a sore wrist, and a few people were talking about whether he could drive, 3 or 4 of these holes over the cut corners that people don't normally cut. Young Bryson, but.
I'm surprised he doesn't pull out of more tournaments for having a sore wrist.
I was just about to say, I'm surprised you haven't said something about him having a sore wrist and how he got it. But yeah, it'll be some silly scores. Someone made a really good point last week. Everyone was up in arms about Cam Smith shooting 33 under at Kapalua. The winning score at Waialae last year was only one shot higher than that, but because it's a par 70, not a par 73, it looks substantially worse when it's a 73. So
73. What have they got? I think it's the 5 or 6, because I can't remember if it's 5 or 6 par 5s.
They've only 3 par 3s or something. I can't remember. Yeah, it's a weird mix, but there's a couple of there's a par 5 there
and it was soft.
4. Yeah,
it was soft. So all of a sudden it's just bomb away, and soft means the greens, receptive, and they're not that fast because they're not going to run them that fast, because if the wind gets up, it gets a bit ugly on that course. So when you've got benign conditions, they're going to, you've got the best players in the world. They're going to rip it to pieces.
Perfect courses, perfect conditions, soft fairways, lift clean in place for rounds 1 and 2.
Yeah, which they never should have done.
They'll rip it apart, like you said.
Yeah,
we'll come back to that one, but just on the Sony, just to finish that off. So the field, it's not a weak field, but it's not an uber strong field, is it?
It's every now and then you get some really good players that will turn up and play at that, because they've probably gone to the tournament champions and they'll back it up and play there again, kind of to almost like make it worth the while, and it's surprising that more of the better ones don't play it if they've already played, say, the Tournament of Champions. You're already there, so why not churn that event out?
That's it. I can't remember what's coming up in the next couple of weeks, but yeah,
then they're going to they go to Palm Springs next week.
Yeah.
So that's another
shootout.
No wind. It's a
Is that 3-course rotation one? The PGA West and
it's a driver and best driver, best putter for the week. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
No wind.
Top Scott market for this week.
I couldn't find one. I don't think. I'm sure there's either one or none playing, but I'm sure someone's
there's
playing.
one. I think Rusty's playing.
There
Rusty's in there. I think Seamus, our other boy. I think Seamus Power's in there.
The only one that I did market that I thought you might be interested in was a top Aussie, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 playing, because Herbie withdrew. Herbie was in, but he's not playing. But we've got Cam Smith and Mark Leishman, who are two of the red hot favourites to win the whole thing. Matt Jones, who probably should be after the way he went last week, and Cameron Davis, probably very similar. Cameron Percy and Brett Druitt are the Aussies this week. So that's the top Aussie market.
Top Aussie? Who's the top Aussie?
I'm going to take Leish purely because I just think he was very close to going very well last week, and Cam was just away and gone.
Rocket?
I think this is a Cameron zone.
That's it.
I think you're gonna have to get a T-shirt, one with sleeves on it, maybe with the Cameron Zone sticker or badge on the front of it for this year, because they're going to feature a lot.
We need to get a Cameron Zone, bumper sticker with all the Cameron's caricatures on it.
It's not a Cam Smith. I was thinking Cam Davis. I think this is Cam Davis course.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Now that's it. Well, we've talked about we're talking about this week. We've talked about last week. No, we've got to talk about. I've lost my train of thought.
Last week we
started to talk about. Now let's talk about last week, which was
so we're on track. We're on script.
Yeah, exactly right. We're back. Last week, it was live clean in place. The scores were low. People were going to talk about the scores. Who cares? That final round of golf, which I didn't see a lot of. I've watched the highlights, but everyone that I spoke to, if I don't watch it, I sort of listen to the commentary of the people, that I speak to all day, every day in the time preceding, and that's my barometer of, how successful the tournament was. Of course, when an Aussie wins, there's always going to be heightened, but just the fact that it was like I think my dad even said it was like a good old fashioned boxing match. Like it was just like about, someone was up, next person's up, and then the other bloke's back up, and the other one's got him on the ropes, and then it looks like it's going to go the other way. How did you guys feel about it watching it?
Well, I just got TVs installed, so I haven't watched a lot. But from what I could read more than anything, and then just some of the highlights, I think, did Cam go wire to wire?
Cam went wire to wire. Yep.
One, wire to wire is hard in any field, let alone having the world number one, who, basically just standing beside you, throwing haymakers for 36 holes.
Yep, absolutely.
So for him to go toe to toe with the world number one for 36 holes,
it was the coming out party. It was like Cam's been on a really solid stretch to finish the year. I didn't really like him this week, or purely because the course was wet. He doesn't hit it off the tee as well as a lot of these guys. I think when I looked up the stats, I think he was ranked something like 100th last year, strokes gained off the tee. So guys that taking into account length and accuracy.
We spoke about it, and we talked about that last week.
Yeah. And I couldn't have him. Not that he's not a great player. He does everything else. He scrambles, probably one of the best on tour. His putting's exceptional. But for him to come out on a wet course and be hitting it as far as John Rahm and a lot of other big hitters and shoot 65, 64, 64, 65 is unbelievable. And like you said, the haymakers that were thrown, there's one point, it might have been on Sunday when I was driving down to Lonsdale, I was listening to it on the radio, and John Rahm had made some sort of, 30, 40 foot bomb, and then Cam just punched one in. Sorry, no. Rahm had made one close enough, I think, that he tapped in, and then Cam and then knocked a 40-foot bomb in straight on top that they thought Rahm was going to catch one up on him, but he just couldn't. He was absolutely nails the whole week. Cam, it was really, really, really good. And Matt Jones this weekend. for a bloke to shoot 62, 61 on the weekend and not win a tournament that's not going to happen too often. That's unbelievable golf.
Doesn't matter how soft the course is. Like, you've got to be shooting lights to do that.
Still got to make the putts.
And I spoke to Mike Ferroni on Thursday night. We were talking about the course, and he's played there, and he said they're probably the grainiest greens that he's ever played on, and probably would suit the Queenslander, and he was absolutely right.
Yeah.
He just said that they were like nothing he'd ever played on in Queensland, put it that way. So really grainy greens.
It's probably the first time when I've listened to the commentary and actually heard someone that has half a clue about Australian golf, because every time you hear them talk about Australia and this course is really, plays a lot like the Sandbelt, so the Aussies are going to go well. It's like, what? Like, I don't know why you think every single course in Australia is like Royal Melbourne. Yeah. Like, these guys do really well in Hawaii and the West Coast and Florida, because a lot of them grew up in Queensland, and that's the sort of grass and that's the sort of climate that they're used to playing on. That's nothing like playing at Royal Melbourne.
New South Wales and Queensland, Kikuyu, Poa, all different surfaces and conditions, and Bermuda. Especially Bermuda. So that's what it's like up there. Yeah. Who was it? What commentator was that?
Can't remember who it was. It was the two that were doing the television on.
Wasn't Faldo, that's for
Faldo.
Sure. Thank God.
But it was it's just one of those the commentary every time I listen to it, and I can guarantee I'll hear it at some point, someone reviewing a tournament coming up where they'll be like, the Aussies do well this week because it's hard and fast, and they love it like that because it's like Royal Melbourne. It's like, okay, cool. Or Harold Varner. The one last year was Harold Varner. He will do well here because he won the Australian PGA, and those Australian courses. It's like the Australian PGA is nothing like it at a Royal Melbourne course. It was played up at
was it Royal
Gold
Pines?
Coast. Yeah,
Royal
it's like me walking into the
I've
US
played Royal
and saying
Pines a couple of times. It ain't.
It's not like Royal Melbourne.
No,
it's like assuming that every course in America.
Cape Shank's closer to Royal Melbourne than
Royal Pines. It is. Yeah. Anyway, but no, look, Aussies do well there, and he's right. Those sorts of greens suit us for sure.
Well, it was great to see the Aussies perform well, and we look forward to seeing them perform well this week, hopefully as well too.
The mullet of paradise is off to a great start.
Well, I was thinking about that. It's gonna be with us for another year. You'd have to think he's not getting rid of it now, yeah.
It's become a thing, right? It's an identifier. So it's the sneakiest pip move ever, and it's working. So I'm just going to call him the mullet of paradise. The birds of paradise ones, the blue ones, where they put their, they frill out just to sort of dance and get attention. He's the mullet of paradise.
He's up to a world golf ranking. He's up to number 10 in the world now. And Data Golf has him ranked number 3 in the world.
Pretty good.
So they do their own rankings, and they say he's number 3, but his official ranking is number 10. So
we need to get another golfer and another elite athlete, Ryan Pappenhausen, and Cameron together. And Cameron needs to, if he's going to propagate the mullet, he's got to promote the mullet too. And Ryan Pappenhausen does a great job of promoting, not only propagating, but promoting the mullet. Any young NRL star that has a mullet, the same as Ryan Pappenhausen, and they tag him in it, he just reposts it and keeps share, and he shares the love of anyone that supports the mullet. So any of you young golfers out there that want to support the Cam mullet, I'm sure that we can get him to promote the mullet for you. And the mullet's beyond you and me, Magic, but you young golfers, if you want someone to look up to, there's no better player at the moment to look up to than Cameron. So anyway, we'll get Ryan Pappenhausen on the podcast one day and talk about mullets. Yeah, there you go. Speaking of mullets, the Brisbane River flows past Royal Queensland, and you might throw a line in there this weekend, Rocket, and then nip over to the PGA. How does that grab you?
A few of the wonderful listeners have been putting out offers to give me tickets to go, but with everything that's going on, I just know that if I decide to nick off down the road and go watch a bit of golf, I'll be a dead man. Okay. With everything I think I've got more stuff that's coming in the next couple of days to put together. So I wish I could nick over there and go and watch it. But alas, I'll have to wait another year.
Well, it's what's end of today, day one, obviously.
Day one, yeah.
We've got Louis Dobbelaar leading, Queensland's very own Louis Dobbelaar.
Dobbs today was
your boy,
bulletproof.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of the golf today. I had it on as I was working away, and I turned the television on for the afternoon groups. And the first thing I saw was someone jar it on the second for an eagle from 100 meters out in the short par 4. Oof. And they panned back, and I'm like, "Oh, it's Dobbs." So he's jarred it for eagle, then went birdie. So he's 4 under through 4, and I was like, "Okay, that's pretty solid golf." He had one bogey. His back 90 probably was a little bit up and down. He put himself in some funny little spots, but he just got out of them. He just was really good.
Is he still amateur or?
No, he's pro now.
Turned pro, after he came back. Just remind everyone why he is your boy on this podcast.
Oh, he's our boy, yeah. So I just, from a long time ago, he's a member at Brookwater, and I was up there, it must have been 5 or 6 years ago. And I'd walked into the pro shop, and there on the table was the members' match play results, and this person that had won, whatever it was, 8 and 7, or whoever, they'd smashed the pants off whoever they'd played. And I said to the guy behind the kick, "Oh, gee, that was a bit of a hiding." He goes, "Yeah," and he's only 13. And I'm like, "Oh, gee whiz, that's pretty good." And his name was Louis Dobbelaar. So I started following on Twitter and whatever else. And he was this young kid who was going to play golf, and how he's day one leading the PGA comfortably, and heads out tomorrow morning. If he can put 4 rounds together like that, where he really minimises any big mistakes, he'll give it a real shake.
Well, good luck, Louis, because it was a year ago that I met him when he came in to visit in the store, and he was just walked in to have a game of indoor golf with Gaz, Ash Barty's partner, and they just wanted to have a hit of golf after the Master Amateurs, which is also on this week. And yes. 2 fine young men, but Louis just smashed it into the simulator, and it was an exhibition. It was great to watch, but a lovely young man, and obviously a very, very talented Australian golfer. Another one I just want to wish all the best to. I don't know Dylan, but Dylan Perry hails out of the Hunter Valley. Played quite a lot of golf out of the Vintage, which is in my backyard up there at home. And obviously my brother, who was the greenkeeper of the family, built that place. So good luck to Dylan Perry. I think Dylan might be from a Branxton boy or from that part of the world. But good luck to Dylan. And a few other names up there. Some that we've seen before, some that we don't know. Brad Kennedy, Michael Sim.
Sim started very well. Went out in the morning.
There's what's his name? Young fella, Minwoo. He's a decent player. He's at
Minwoo. Out in the morning as well.
Hey Ross, have you played with Minwoo before?
Yeah, actually I have. Thanks, Rocket, for reminding me. I've forgotten about that. The picture's just over there.
Sorry, couldn't help myself.
Yeah, 3 under, not too bad from Minwoo. I mean, he's the favourite this week. He's the class of the field, but it's probably a different sort of week for him. Normally, he gets to go to the tournament and play golf. This week, he's doing all the press. He's doing a bit of this and that. Yeah. So he's going to have a long week. Dylan Perry had 5 straight birdies on the back 9 today.
Oh, he can play. What I know about Dylan Perry is he is a serious ball striker. He can play.
Aaron Pike was really good for a lot of the day, and the one who's tied with second, Jed Morgan, he's a RQ member, and I wish I'd known that before it started, because he was loving life. He had a good, solid personality on him. He was making some birdies and whipping up the crowd a little bit, and he's sitting at 600, which is great. And the other one I liked before the tournament kicked was the other young bloke, Elvis Smiley, who had a really, really good sort of finish after a little wobbly start. He was playing with Dobbs. So it was good. Great television today.
Clates on the bag.
Plates on the bag, yeah. It doesn't hurt when you've got the bloke who did the redesign telling you where to hit it. You just got to, you're that good. And most of the time, these blokes do hit it where they want to hit it. They're not like me. But it'll be good.
Talented young man, Elvis Smiley, coming out of a talented family, with his mum being Liz Smiley, obviously one of Australia's great women tennis players. A few PK members in the, I don't know if you looked at that, Mike, but Rocket, a few PK members in there, and good luck to those guys. Mika, Dave Micheluzzi, we've got the Director of Coaching playing, Marcus Fraser. Who else have we got? We've got Bryden. Bryden is playing, and young where is he? I'm just trying to look where he is. Sorry about the dead air. Where is he?
While you're saying that, there's one person I saw on the who's playing. Didn't know he's still playing tour events. Glenn Joyner.
Where is he sitting? I didn't see him today unless he went out in the morning.
Tied for 114th, nearly TFL.
Yeah.
But Glenn Joyner, I remember I was in a pro-am with Glenn Joyner. We're talking like 1989, 90?
He did. He's out in the afternoon tomorrow. So Minwoo's out in the afternoon as well. He's off the 10th, second to last group, 12:40 in Queensland time.
So he must be what? He'd be 60. Has to be.
No. A lot of Queenslanders, lots of Queenslanders playing. But the big groups tomorrow that they'll be able to watch, Brad Kennedy, Michael Sim off at 11:20 with Sarah Jane Smith. So they've got the mixed groups this week, which is awesome with the ladies.
Yep.
Min Woo Lee, Blake Windred and Sue O, and then Brett Rumford, Zach Murray, Cassie Porter. So that's probably the main groups, and then Fraser and Peter Lonnon after that.
Yeah.
Of course, sorry, my apologies. I did look it up. I just had a blank. Lawrence Curtis, great young fellow I've known for a long time, and also Brady Watt, winner of the Sandbell Classic. Good luck to all those PK guys.
Yeah.
The women, the ALPG, the ALPG event. How's that going, Mike?
So I didn't get to watch too much of it. Oh, sorry, they sort of flicked up the scores, but obviously a limited field versus the men. So there's only 20 women playing, and then there's a full field of the men, but they're mixed in. They're playing for the Kari Webb Cup, I think it's called. Suo was out in the morning, and she did some damage. She was sitting at 5 under with a bogey on 16, and probably just sitting in the clubhouse. So when I turned the television on, it didn't look like there wasn't any. I don't think it was anyone else under par. So it looked like she was going to smash them up. But Grace Kim played in the afternoon, played really well. So she got up to 2 under. She was playing with Jeff.
Oh, nice.
Ogilvy. So, it's great. It was just so good to see. You know, it was just so, I won't say, normalised isn't really the word you want to use, but it was just great because you just saw them walking around together. Jeff would tee off, then they'd forward down to the forward front tee, Sue would tee off, or Grace would tee off, go from there. It was good.
Yeah, well, you already had the success of the Vic Open, so it just made a lot of sense. Wouldn't be surprised if Jeff had had his fingers in pulling some strings in there to make it sort of so. The other interesting thing is that this is being broadcast even into the US. So I was listening to the Shotgun Start guys, and they were excited. They picked it as their event of the week.
Oh, that's
because it's men's and women's, and in Australia, and because it's being broadcast, I think either on ESPN into the US.
Oh, that's good. Now look,
bring it on.
There's 120 men, 24 women, but there were some withdrawals with a few testing positive to COVID.
You know how many had to withdraw? I know my guy had.
Is it 3 or 4? Yeah. I saw.
I felt terrible. Young Adam Siamis, who is a staff member at my joint, Metro's winning Division 1 captain this year, Medway's club champion, went up to caddy for, and I forget the name of his player, but we got him a rat test before, so he was searching for a rat test before he could enter Queensland. He was panicked about that. We got him a rat test, sent him up there. Got the few weeks off to play in a few tournaments and caddy for his mate, and then his mate gets up there and contracts COVID and has to pull out. So it was real shame. Shame for Adam.
Who was his mate?
I
can't remember. I'd be guessing if I said.
Yeah, I'd be guessing. Remember. There was a couple of names that went out.
Because I used to play. There's one guy, a Queenslander guy, Matty Guy.
Matty Guy's who I was thinking of. He definitely had a draw.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Matty. I'm not sure. It was one of the young guys from down this way. So early days.
Steph Kiriakou as well had to withdraw. But the one thing I saw that I thought was great was prize money this week. So obviously there's 120 men, 24 women. There's $1 million in prize money for the men, 300 for the women, which doesn't sound great, but equal prize money for the winner. So it's 180K for for top men's and 180 for the top women, which is awesome.
That's good.
Well, we've talked about that before in terms of the women's and the men's prize money in the States. And, that's great. If that's a sponsorship thing and the sponsors are influencing that the two winners get the equal prize money, that's great. I could only implore the sponsors, the marketing people in the States to do the same and pull some money out of here and put it into more women's. That'd be great. Anyway, let's not go down that path. There is another event on at the moment, the Master of the Amateurs, being played at Victoria. And wow, it would have been pretty tough conditions out there today. Some of the scoring after 54 holes, so there's a cut after 54 holes. So this is like the creme de la creme of amateur golf in Australia. It's suggests it's a full field because everyone can travel, but some of the biggest scores, plus 30, plus 28, plus 27.
What?
Yeah, tough day, tough couple of days. But the leaders -6, Harrison Crowe from New South Wales, great young player. But another young boy from the Hunter Valley, young Corey Lamb. Corey Lamb is part of obviously the Lamb family, hail out of Branxton, just north of Cessnock. And he's the nephew of Mark Hale, who was a young fellow that I played a lot of golf with as a junior. Mark Hale was the one that qualified for the New South Wales Open a few years ago, and all his mates went on a betting splurge. And the betting agencies pulled the market. They said, what's going on here? Something's not right. There's a splurge on this fella. We don't know something. And it was all Mark Hale's crazy coal mining mates from up in the Hunter putting money on him. But
that's how the betting agencies, they're normally so great with making sure that, if you got one over of them, they'll pay you, I'm sure.
Corey Lamb, I met Corey Lamb at Royal Melbourne playing the Pro-Am many years ago. And this little kid was there in his golf uniform. He was there with the schools. He would have been all about 12. And of course, me, I wanted to go and talk to the kids. Where are you guys from? Oh, we're from Victoria. No, I don't know anything about it. Yeah, we're from Queensland. No, I don't like Queensland. Where are the New South Wales kids? Oh, over here. And Corey Lamb's a big fella, right? He's a big fella, and he was a big fella when he was a young fella. And he stood out, and then he had a big smile on his face. I said, where are you from, young fella? He said, I'm from Branxton. And I thought, well, this can only go one way. I'm the only bloke in this whole property, other than him, that knows where Branxton is. I said, yeah, really? I said, are you a good golfer? He went, yeah. Oh, yeah. And he looked at his dad, and his dad's shaking. He said, yeah, he's good. I said, well, I only know one good golfer from Branxton, and that's Mark Hale. And they both just looked at me with these eyes. He said, Dad, he knows Uncle Mark. So that was my story of meeting Corey Lamb. So good luck to you, Corey Lamb. Do it for the Hunter.
Sitting second, -4.
Oh, he can play too. Like, he is a serious golfer, and he's been well tutored by his Uncle Mark, who doesn't pull any punches and has a bit of a laugh. He's a bit of a wild child, but he would have been well schooled in golfcraft by his Uncle Mark.
I played in the Master of the Amateurs. I'm not even joking.
Okay.
I did play, but I obviously wasn't there because I was an elite amateur. My mum knew someone. I think, what was it? Used to be sponsored by NEC, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Back in the day.
Yeah. So back in the day, Mum knew someone from NEC, and they said, she said, "Oh, my son loves playing golf." And that would have been early 2000s, 20 years ago. So she said, "Oh, we've got a spot if you want to come and have a hit at wherever it was." And I was like, "Okay, I'll go." Turned up, and I got a Master of the Amateurs hat and an umbrella, and went down to the practice range to get there. And I didn't know anything about it. I was warming up, and then is it Peter Senior might have walked in and was warming up next to me, and I'm like, I think this is a bit of a big deal. probably shot 1,000 and went home.
What about you, Rocket? Did you have any Master of the Amateurs experience? No. Hello.
No, his phone sort of been on silent.
Hold on, let's backtrack over that. Is your phone ring the theme tune from Knight Rider?
That is correct.
Oh, I don't know why I'm not surprised.
I didn't think you were old enough for Knight Rider. I thought that was more my era, but clearly not.
No, I know. Even I know Knight Rider. Yeah.
It is the best. It's one of the best TV shows ever.
If you don't know Knight Rider, you've got to go and You've got to go and see Knight Rider. Knight Rider's that old that I've got those pictures that I've posted on my Instagram, ross.flanagan.golf. I posted a few from 1987 trip to America. I reckon I've got one there with me standing next to Knight Rider at Universal Studios. That's how old Knight Rider is.
You mean Kit?
Yeah, Kit the car. Yeah.
Knight Industries 2000.
Not the Hoff.
That was not David Hasselhoff. No, he was still that was the year before the Berlin Wall. The year before David Hasselhoff single-handedly brought down the Berlin Wall.
That's it.
Don't hassle the Hoff.
If you're listening and you don't know about Knight Rider, go and check that out. And if you don't know about the Berlin Wall, certainly go and check that out.
So I think it's on. I'll double check so we can post it as well. So I think Knight Rider series they're streaming on. They've been doing it on 9, so you can go and actually watch historical stuff of Knight Rider, which I've watched obviously again. The other one that I'm disappointed they haven't put back on again, and I alternate between this one as well for a ringtone is Airwolf.
Oh, that was the helicopter.
Yeah. That's the helicopter version of Knight Rider.
That's proper 80s.
Yeah.
Speaking of 80s and 90s, I'm listening to the Will Smith autobiography at the moment, which is really, really good. And it's just got up to the part where he became the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yep.
Another classic, what was that? 90s? That'd be 90s.
Yeah, that would have been, early 90s.
That was just before DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
And the Fresh Prince.
No, that was just after.
Oh, no, sorry, just after, sorry.
Yeah, he was already that. I didn't know much about DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, but I certainly knew about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Mike, you had your hat out there before.
I did.
What's the Sydney?
No one can see it.
Well, you can if you go to the YouTube, and that's another reminder for everyone to go to the YouTube. Pop it on.
Put over the hat.
You can finish it.
I'll put it like that. Tomorrow's Yellow Day. Tomorrow is the day for cancer awareness at the Australian PGA. So I thought it'd be good to have. I thought I'd get my bucket hat out for that, and this was the one that I found, which was perfect, especially after Ginger Ninja had made a comment on your post of me playing at PK without a hat on in the heat. Mind you, I think it was about 8 o'clock in the morning when that photo was taken. But yeah, that's it. This is my yellow hat for cancer awareness.
So you've got your Luke Liddart Titleist bucket hat on. They're very hard to get. Now, I did also played in that same sun and did cover up and didn't get sunburnt, but I had long pants on, which you still can't understand why I can play golf in the middle of summer with long pants on. Well, I'm just letting you know that I've done something about it, and I might even get the legs out for a bit of short action because it has maintained to be hot. But I just want to show you and see if you can notice a difference. Now, once again, you have to get onto the YouTube and check this out. So it's not going to equate.
Did you get a spray tan?
Can you see? Can you see?
I can see your knee. Is that tanned?
Actually,
there's a little bit of tannage there.
Nice.
And I thought, well, it's only appropriate because Rocket, once again, if you're watching the YouTube, you're going to see Rocket. He's forgot the sleeves on his shirt tonight, and
I'll slowly brown out like a good Royal Melbourne fairway in December.
Well, Rocket, this is clearly an unsponsored part, but Latan fast tan in a can, easy to apply, and you can get bronze calves like Phil and like Ross. You can see it there. Easy to apply, Rocket. If you want to get that on you, I'll send it up to you if you want.
So by the end of this year, Rocket needs a tailor-made sponsorship. You need a Latan bronzing sponsorship, and I'm happy with Callaway. So we can sort that out. I'm sure there's a flood of offers coming in. I'm sure.
I seriously used that on my legs 2 times. I didn't go once. I topped it up today. I gave it another go.
Well, I've got the most solid golf sock tan going. My wife just says to me all the time, "What are you going to do about that?" And it's certainly a female question. I look at it like, what would I possibly do with that? I don't care. If I'm outside, there's a solid chance I'm in shorts and I'm playing golf.
One of our significant listeners and most regular listener outside of my Rocket is my dad. He spent his New Year's Eve watching the episodes of the podcast on YouTube with his Scottish mate up there in the Hunter Valley. That's how good he was going up there, and the 2 of them sitting there drinking whiskey. The only night a year he drinks whiskey. He will be repulsed that I'm actually talking, that I've shown my legs.
There'll be questions had.
And I've admitted on national TV to using fake tan. 50-year-old man with fake tan.
You're in trouble.
Dear. That's all for the entertainment. Well, wear a bucket hat and spend some money on donation charities like National Cancer Awareness. Men's health is important, or everyone's health is important, but as golfers, we're out in the sun, so look after your skin. Vic Open is upcoming. A few more events for the ladies up in Bonneville, and then they move up to the Gold Coast. So there's a couple of international LET Tour co-sanctioned events coming out. Gabrielle McDonald's coming out for those. So I've been talking to her about that. But the Vic Open, it's the 11th, I think, 11th to the whatever it is. So the 10th, Mike, what are you doing? You want to come and caddy?
The 10th of Feb?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm
taking holidays in Feb. It's not peak cheese time, so I'm going to take some leave.
Well, I think
so. If anyone has anywhere they want me to come and play golf, you just let me know, because there's a solid chance in Feb I'll be on holidays. I'm going to take 3 weeks, and all I'm going to do is play golf.
Well, I'm hopefully days away off signing the deal to whisper another tour, Victor, in playing in the Pro-Am down there, hopefully. So caddy spots available. But we've got the ladies tour event in Latrobe on the 26th, 24th and 25th. So that'll be good as well. We'll be down there. Got a few girls coming down to play in the Pro-Am down there, which is good. So anything else, gents? What do you, Rocket, what about you? Oh, Formula One, Drive to Survive. It's your backdrop. Here we go.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Oh, well, you brought it up many years ago that said we should the golf should do something like this.
Well,
and I think I was skeptical, saying they'll never let, the Sith Lords will never let anyone have full control of, how things look and stuff like that, because that's what Drive to Survive is. You see warts and all. I love Drive to Survive, especially season 1. I started watching it again because of Gunter. There's no one as good as Gunter.
Who's Gunter? I don't watch Drive to Survive.
He's the team principal for Team Haas.
Okay,
yeah. Very passionate German.
I do like Toto Wolff.
Toto is an absolute. He's a nice man. He is a nice man.
What I have watched, the relationship between and the way they set Toto Wolff and Christian Horner up, it's quite clever and quite funny. And they both have a good laugh at each other and themselves. It's quite good. But, in all seriousness, like we talked about this a long time ago. I didn't have the time to go back and look at the archives of how many episodes ago it was, but must have been 2020, 2019 when we started to talk about. And it was at the time before golf was cool again, before everyone wanted to be a golfer like us. And we were talking about ways to, bring entertainment and use to promote the game. And we talked about Drive to Survive and said, well, imagine if they did something like that. And then I'm not saying that it was us and we were the first, no, but, the groundswell of support for it.
Go back and look at where the downloads are from.
Well, I will, when I get time, check it out, because I don't like to be wrong. I like to be right. But, clearly no laying up who have got a bazillion, downloads every week, and they dedicate, almost half their show at the end of it to talking about Formula One and talking about the Drive to Survive and, this. So it was great to see that it was the groundswell of support for a concept like this to come to fruition. Can't wait to see it. I'm really looking forward to. I'll probably watch that more than the golf, because I like listening to the stories and like hearing from the people.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how they do it, because obviously the Drive to Survive, you don't see it until after the season is done.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of, you've watched the season and then Drive to Survive comes out, and then you get to see all the machinations and all the behind the scenes stuff, because they're trying to tell us stories, right? So maybe they might do the same thing, right? Can they find a narrative through the year rather than try and, do they do the tournament in chunks and then start to, or do bits in chunks and then start to feed it out over the course of the year? Because you've got to remember, it's Formula One is, 20 events?
Yeah.
20 races over the year, and it's sort of, it is over the course. It is over a long period of time.
But it is.
Where PGA Tour is like 52 weeks of the year.
Yeah,
you're right, and that will be, I guess, the skill in telling that story. I hope it's not like a behind the scenes highlight package. That sort of doesn't interest me, but how they do tell that story in and out the year, and because the byplay between the people is what you want to hear and see and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And of course, Formula One, it's 20 events. It's the same drivers. It's the same teams. They're shunting in, shunting out, week in, week out. And so they turn up all the same every week. The PGA Tour is not like that. You've got some in, some out, some thereabouts, and some not. So,
well, it's going to be interesting because you have the perceptions of certain players, and then is it going to be just like, they're exactly as they were, right? Because I think Dustin Johnson... DJ signed on. So his DJ is boring as what he appears.
I think, for me, what's a normal season of Drive to Survive? 8 or 10 episodes? Is that right? It's not. They don't do 20, do they? I can't remember.
No. They do skip a few races, or they condense. Yeah, like one episode effectively is almost like two races.
Yeah.
So I think it is 10.
So
I think it is 10 episodes.
I'm gonna guess and say Pebble, Players, Masters, PGA,
Open,
US, Open Championship, couple of FedEx Cups,
Korea Cup.
You've already up to round 8.
WGCs.
Correct. The Scottish will get thrown in for sure because that's part of the PGA Tour this year. And
they'll do a Scottish and an Open Championship, right?
Yeah. And they'll tell those stories. That's my guess. Looking at the list of players, I think that the one thing we're all shocked
be
about
almost like that.
Aussies.
Here's the major, and then it'll be the week before, right? So they might have a contrasting of here's what these players are doing the week before in preparation. They might be playing. So if it's before the
John
Masters,
Deere, whatever it is.
I can't remember the one that's before the Masters now.
Not before the Masters, it's changed.
Yeah, because it used to be Houston Open, but it's not anymore. So it's the one before the Masters, and then there'll be the other players that might actually go, oh no, we're taking the week off and we're going to go to Augusta. Or are there any players that might go earlier in the year, right? Do they go and find someone that does an earlier scouting of the event or the tournament and go, this is how I approach it?
Well, I mean, they'll use those players. I mean, if you look at the list of players that are there, you think by the time they get back to the UK, Fitzpatrick, Fleetwood, they're going to be a focus for the Open Championship for sure. Play anyone as towards the top.
You've got a good mix. You got Tiny Dancer. You've got Berger, Cameron, Don't Call Me Cam, Jolly D, Tony Finau, Matty Fitzmagic, Fleetwood, the fake mullet, Richard Flower, as you would say.
Yep.
Sergio, Harry Higgs, Max Homer, Victor Hovland. Like if they don't dive into Victor Hovland and the Nordic death medal, like I will be shattered. I will be shattered. If they don't dive into Victor Hovland and the Nordic death medal, I'm going to be really pissed off. DJ, Brooks. See, are we going to find out, like, this will be really interesting, right? What is the real Brooks? Who is the real Brooks Koepka, right?
Yeah. They can't, like, there's going to be such limited of what they can do. And that's the benefit of a Formula One. The Formula One is, these are the events. It's all happening in this place at this time. It's not like you said, Rocket, there's a event the week before here before they shoot over to play in Scotland. And it's like, well, are they going to have enough manpower to go and we've got a whole team over there scouting, filming, story, and then they're all going to get on a plane and fly this circus all the way over, or are they going to have two? And it's going to be very interesting to see how they break it all up.
So I was just reading a little bit here. It says, so, Rahm, the other Rory, Bryson, Phil and Tiger obviously not in it. I would never expect Phil and Tiger to be in it. Bryson, I don't think he's going to be in it because he wants to control his narrative and grow his channel. And he doesn't probably want give them control, because he'd probably come across the reason why he has a sore wrist. So they're saying the pros can dictate the amount of access the cameras can have to their personal lives, and those not currently committed could still end up appearing in the show. Yeah. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what they do and do not allow outside of normal golf stuff.
I think the most interesting thing for us as people who watch golf and love golf, like for someone like me, right? The guys that I want to see, Harry Higgs and Max Homer, properly getting out and having fun and showing them. Like, I know they'd be.
And you got Jolly D as well. You got the three guys that are just
get them out. Somehow get Harold Varner on the list and get four of those guys out having fun. That's the sort of stuff I'd find interesting, but I'm not the market. The market is, like we were talking about before we started recording, it's the guys and girls that come in and out of watching a bit of PGA Tour golf.
They might just watch the majors.
Yeah, correct. And that's for us. I mean, that's for me. As we sort of said before, I fell away from watching Formula One for a long time, didn't really pay any attention. And with Drive to Survive coming onto Netflix, I've probably watched more Formula One in the last 3 or 4 years than I've watched in a very long time.
You know, the one that I reckon is going to be really interesting? Justin Thomas. This is going to be make or break on his personality.
I like Justin Thomas.
I actually think he's quite fake, and I think he's a bit of a knob.
Yeah, fair enough.
So this is going to be make or break on his personality. You know, how real is he?
Yeah. No, that's it. It's hard to, once you sort of sign off the waiver, they'll put up what they want to put up.
Looking forward to it. Look, they've got to try something, because, you know, I was reflecting on it recently, and, you know, trying to watch someone, one of my mates said, how much golf do you watch? I said, not as much as what you think, because it's actually quite trying. You know, if you think about what we try and cover from, you know, March through to end of July, and then you have the race to get your snout in the trough, to go buy more fishing gear, and, you know, there's a lot of stuff to cover, and it's like to try and watch, you know, 4 days of that. It's you know, so when you try and have a life outside of watching golf, you do start to pick and choose the events. If you're looking at it and there's certain players that aren't playing, or it's a course where you go, it's actually a really boring event, you kind of just tune out. And
it's not conducive to where we live. At the end of the day, this stuff is West Coast and Hawaii is kind of okay, because it's on from, you know, 7 or 8 in the morning till midday. That's for a Saturday morning or Sunday morning. That's a great time to watch golf.
Yeah.
But most
breakfast
of the year,
golf.
East Coast, it's, you know, 5 till 8. Awesome.
Yeah, and being you know, there's only so much Paul Azinger and Nick Faldo one can be subjected to over the course of a year.
Oh, I love listening to. Nothing makes me happier than listening to the US population complain about having to get up to watch the Open Championship. It's like, come live where we live. Try watching the Masters. Come here for, you know, your golf season and see how easy it is to watch golf every single week.
Yeah, exactly.
That's our next campaign, Rocket. Is no disrespect to the Sir Nick and Zinger and all that sort of thing, but getting some fresh commentary perspectives.
Well, Colton Oakes will be doing something this year, and he's awesome.
Do you know what I put it down to? Is you've got there's people that are commentators, and they're supposed to be analysts, and unfortunately, they phone it in. Like, they're not doing research. They're not grinding away through the week, understanding about the tournament, the players, the course, and other bits and pieces. And it shows when they speak, because they talk just complete gobbledygook. It is just, some of the stuff that comes out of their mouth is just absolute hogwash. And the unfortunate thing is that the most value that they gave was probably in the first 5 to 10 years of them post their career doing commentary. And I would say in the last 10 years, because they've kind of bedded in, they're not grinding away on still being like the best analyst. And so, for example, like everyone likes to rag on Brandel Chambly, and for good reason as well, because he makes some quite wild and quite strange comments, and he's quite polarizing. But there's one thing you can never fault on the man, is that he will go and research whatever he's talking about, and he comes to the gunfight with guns, right? And he will argue and fight with you like tooth and nail. And even Frank Nobilo was well versed. ESPN did a great job because they've nicked David Duval over from Golf Channel. So if we get some ESPN telecasts or the Thursday, Friday ones, we might get a bit of SVP and David Duval. And those guys actually do their research. Where unfortunately, Paul Azinger, like all he talks about is pressure. Talk about the pressure.
I think I like the idea. Look, don't get me wrong. I understand why Paul Azinger, Faldo, David Duval, these guys get these gigs. But Colt Knost, as a guy doing these commentary, one, I love him because he says things that you want to hear him say. Like, he talks like a normal person. But he's off the PGA Tour 2 years ago. With all due respect to the guys that I mentioned before that, who are elite Hall of Fame golfers, which Colt Knost is not, they played the game a long time ago. And the way that they look at shots, and they understand it, yes,
but they don't.
They haven't gone and hit it. They haven't had to play at the same level with the same equipment. Like, I like someone who's just off. You can't get Rory's not going to come and sit in there, or Justin Thomas is not going to come and sit in the booth and do this sort of stuff. Someone like Phil Mickelson, you can't pay him enough to get him there. But someone who's literally been there not that long before and can walk into a booth and talk, or be out on course walking, that for me is the best piece.
Yeah. So actually, a mate of mine, I'll contrast this with NFL. So there's the best analysts are the ones that do the research. And this is a bit of a common theme, is that the ones that are the really good analysts generally have been not the best football players. And they're the ones that have probably had to work the hardest, and they've probably had to study more, do all this other stuff, right? And their view of the game is phenomenal. Like, there's one of my favorite analysts now. He's a young guy. He's been out of the game like 5 years. He watches, and I asked him on Twitter, I said, how much film do you watch a week? And he goes, I watch every snap of every game. There is 16 games. And there's around about 90 snaps a game.
Yeah.
And he watches every one of them and breaks them down.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. Like, that's high work rate.
Yeah.
And then you listen to some of the others, like one of my other favorite ones on ABC is Chris Collinsworth, who was a decent player for Cincinnati Bengals. But the thing is, though, he does his research. Like, and the one thing that the really good ones do is they spend more time talking to the coaches and certain players the days leading up to the game, to understand, how you're going to approach this game and stuff like that. And that comes through in the telecast. They do the work and the effort, and that's one of the reasons I do love the game, because the ones that do it and do it really well, they can break it down or start to call it out when it's happening. It's like it's anyone watching cricket now, and they watch someone like Mark Waugh, Adam Gilchrist, or Ricky Ponting talking about cricket, and they're already explaining why the field's set a certain way, or what's going to happen 3 balls later, and it will happen exactly like that.
Because they're 10 minutes out of the game. They know, like, it's nothing against the older guys. They just
they've stayed close with it, and they bring an insight to the game that has never been brought before, because they're still all staying actually quite close to the game at large.
No, it's the same with AFL. No different. It's, I'd much prefer.
Oh yeah, it's like listening to Wayne Carey versus Nick Rewalt.
Yeah,
Nick Rewalt grinds on film. Wayne Carey dials it in because he's the king.
Ladies and gentlemen listening at home, tell us what you think about the Formula One Drive to Survive. Who do you want to see? What do you want to hear about? What do you think the format of the Drive to Survive is going to be? What do you think about the PGA Tour commentary? What do you want to hear more of? What do you want to hear less of? If you want to go to the effort of letting us know, drop it in the comments. Send us a message. Let us know if you've listened this far. We know that you are a dedicated listener, so we've got a chance of getting some feedback from you. So thanks for listening for an hour and 10. Gentlemen, Magic Mike, Rocket Man, thank you as always.
My pleasure, as always.
Until next week, we will see you again, and like, share, and subscribe. Do all of that kind of stuff. Appreciate it, and we'll see you again. Thanks for listening.